Okay, so just to continue, I mean, again, thanks for sharing so much, Kevin, already. For everyone watching, I mean, I definitely agree. Doing things together and understanding how to work through it together and talk about it is something big. Like we didn't really talk about our emotions after the kids died, and that was probably one of the biggest factors for us, is trying to figure out where we both were. It's hard. It's a tough thing. Like, neither of you know how to express it or what you actually feel. You know, there's just a lot there. But honestly, like, going through it together and talking about it is gonna be something important. With that, I know you said you go to the grave once a year. Do you feel that going there has helped you?
It definitely keeps things turning in my head, so it's easy to, you know, you tell a story for long enough, it changes, and it kind of morphs, and you know, you might lose details, and it definitely keeps things fresh in my head. So you know, seeing the babies' names on the gravestone, and you know, dates, and sort of remembering, you know, back, you know, I have my tattoo on my arm for the babies. It's definitely one of those things where I can kind of dip my toes back into the emotions and stuff that I was feeling at the time, and to kind of, not to, you know, drag up bad memories, but to like reconnect, and so sort of, you know, realize how far you've come from where you were. It's hard to keep perspective when so much time has passed. You know, it's been 8 years since Lily died, and you know, that's, I mean, from your mid-20s to your early 30s is a big transition for a lot of people. It was for me. So, you know, going from you know, a young adult to a fully fledged adult with kids, and you know, child support to pay and all that stuff, you know, like, there's so many more responsibilities you take on, and it changes who you are. So I think being able to see the kids, you know, in spirit, sort of keeps me grounded, and keeps me working as hard as I do, you know, to sort of earn my kids' love. Is, you know, if you believe in an afterlife, that, you know, that they're looking down and seeing what their dad's doing with, you know, Isaac and Jacob, and they're proud of me as their father, you know, because I certainly wasn't proud of myself for how I dealt with everything. It's not something I would put on my highlight reel of my life, for sure.
Obviously, we lost 3. Do you ever feel that there is more of an impact on certain times of those than there are on others?
I think Arthur was probably the hardest one. Our second. Lily kind of came out of the blue, and you know, that was our first pregnancy, and you know, you never know what to expect. Obviously, you're like super amped up about having a kid, and you're super scared about having a kid, because you know, you're like, oh my God. I think Arthur hurt the most because he was expected, and he was the first boy, and your grandpa was super excited to, you know, have his name carry on, and me taking your last name when we got married was a big deal. So Arthur was kind of the golden boy, and I think we had a bunch of baby stuff all stacked up in the nursery. Like, everybody bought us a bunch of stuff. It was like we were getting stacked and ready for this kid. Like, he was gonna be the one, and he made it the longest through pregnancy, and then it happened, and it was like you won the lotto, and then you lost the ticket down the drain. Like, you know, it was a ton of bricks, and I think that one hurt the worst because I was out of state. I was over in Minnesota doing job training, and I had to hear about it, you know, like over the phone, and then you know, Ashley I think you had to drive yourself to the hospital.
I didn't have to, but I did.
Yeah.
There's still debate between friends on what
on
had
whether
to
you
be
had
done
to, yeah.
and what I did do, but I did drive myself, yes.
Right. So, you know, it was hard not being there. And when Lily happened, I told my boss, you know, my sergeant and my commander what was happening. They were like, "What are you doing here? Go." You know, so it was, and the same thing happened with Logan. It was kind of like I had to go, and then I had an appointment and I had to leave, but I came right back, and it was trying to juggle, you know, life and work, and because I was the only income. Well, no, you were working for Donna by the time Logan came around. So
and I was there for all three.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes, yeah.
But you were the sole provider. Then.
Yeah. So is kind of juggling responsibilities of trying to be a provider, trying to have time for myself to grieve, and also to be there for you when, you know, when they actually happened. It was, you know, it was a balancing act, and then I was going to school at the same time, and so, you know, all these pressures, and I feel like I didn't take enough time to myself to really, you know, I had work, I had school, I had to make sure you were okay, you know, and then like you had all these medical appointments to go to, and it was just, there wasn't enough time in the day to, you know, if I had dropped out of school, maybe if I had a less demanding job, might have helped, but at the end of the day, I think it's just, we got stuck in the things we were doing and didn't do the necessary things to set us up for, you know, staying together and working things out. I think we kind of just drifted apart and pushed away.
Yeah. And that can actually happen a lot. Obviously, it's not just us. I've heard other couples like that before, but I think in that instance, obviously, just like I've said before, you know, when it comes to fathers or mothers, we have to take those times out to understand our feelings. We have to express them, and I'm a big proponent of expressing your feelings and writing them down or figuring them out. And if you feel like you can't do that on your own, definitely, like Kevin said, go and take some time to go see a counselor, figure that out. And it's just a tough thing to go through, and neither of us, if you're watching this, like, we wish you didn't have to go through this. Honestly, this is not something we would want you to go through, but no, you're not alone. Fathers, like, your girlfriend or wife really does love you, and there's a lot of things that I wish I would have known at that time and could help Kevin with, and a lot of things that I just didn't understand. But as a couple, you can get through this together by taking the necessary steps of just understanding each other and figuring that out. And now that things have happened, we're able to do that, but definitely work through that. I guess the other thing is, for Kevin, obviously his way of honoring the kids is a lot different than mine, and I think whatever way helps you, you know, it doesn't have to be the same way for both of you. It can be, you know, one way or the other, but definitely help each other in that. You know, if one of you really wants to honor them with balloons or something, or one of you just, you know, wants to honor by doing nothing, like, understand that that's okay. You can still work through that to do that together.
Yeah, it's not so much that you have to have a ritual set up. That, I mean, if ritual helps, by all means, but I think the main thing is that you know, you don't bury that part of your life. It's not going to help you to ignore it. You know, stick your head in the sand. And like for me, being really stubborn and not wanting to go see a counselor, there is a really valuable part of having an outside pair of eyes looking at your situation, especially somebody who's trained to deal with grief or depression or what have you. My counselor was really great about connecting the dots in my life and being like, look, like, you've got a problem, you know, you've been let down by a lot of women in your life, and now this thing has happened, and you now you naturally are going to blame the woman in your life, your wife, because your mom let you down, or, you know, and all these things. So those kind of things are impossible, I think, for a layman to put together. You know, if you don't watch a lot of psychological documentaries, or you know, if you're not in that space, you're not gonna know why you're angry. You know, you're not gonna know how to make it better, and even with as much time as you want, you're not gonna get any better. You're gonna be that same angry person that you're gonna get triggered every time somebody brings up miscarriage or a stillbirth, you know, it's gonna hit something, you know, it's gonna hit a nerve, and then you're gonna end up being, you know, in that same space. You're gonna be depressed. You're gonna be sad. You're gonna be angry, and you're not gonna make any progress. And it's, you know, like I said earlier, you know, I still cry when I see kids get hurt, and it's not like I have, I don't want to say I have like PTSD, but I mean, you could probably construe it as that. I'm sure, you know, you talk to psychologists, like people going through traumatic events get PTSD. It's not like a soldier getting shot at or blown up that has like random fits, but it's definitely one of those things where I wasn't sensitive to things before the kids died, and now I am. And the best thing you can do is talk to somebody about it. And it's horrible to be embarrassed about something that's true. Like, you're going to be hurting for a while, and the worst thing you can do is just pile stuff up over it and ignore it. Like, it's gonna come up later. You know, it's gonna come up, like for me it did with my second marriage, is all those issues that I built up from the kids dying and not dealing with it, you know, ruined my second marriage. It wasn't like I didn't give it a fair chance because I didn't deal with my issues. So, you know, I feel bad about that. On top of, you know, the guilt the sadness of losing the kids. You know, I have all this guilt built up from the things I did, and the people that I didn't give a fair chance to, you know, the people I pushed out of my life. It's gonna be hard to dig yourself out of that hole when you just keep making it deeper by not getting help. And whether you do that by yourself or with your partner, you know, that's the most important part. Is you know, it's like it sounds like you're in an AA meeting, and you know, the first thing you have to do is admit you have a problem. Well, the first thing you have to do is admit that something bad happened to you, and figure out how you want to work on that, because it is a project. You know, you are now a fixer-upper, and it's not to say that you're a lesser person. It's just, you know, you've got something to deal with now, and it's just like your car breaking down, or you know, something in the house needs fixed. Like, you've now got a to-do list, and you've got to, you know, talk to a counselor, and you got to talk to your partner, and you know, you got to talk to your friends and your family, and you know, figure out how everyone can help you, and you can interact with everybody else to make things better. It's going to do you no favors if you don't talk to your family about it, and then all of a sudden you just blow up or break down in front of them, and then no one has any idea what to do with you. You know, your family's just going to look at you like you're crazy, kind of like my mom did. You know, she didn't know how to comfort me or what to say, because, you know, she had one miscarriage when I was younger, but it was, you know, it was 4 or 6 weeks along. It wasn't, you know, it was, you know, the baby was small enough to where she could just flush her miscarriage down the toilet, and she went to work that day. My mom's a tough person. Like, I thought I was stoic. My mom is on a whole another level. And I think that's part of what made me try to deal with it all by myself. Is like my mom could, you know, brush this off. You know, I know she could. You know, my mom's the strongest person I know, and I'm not that strong. And you know, obviously. So, you know, that's the worst thing. It's you know, part hubris. It's part stubbornness. It's, you know, you're never above help. So, you know, try and get help.
Amen. Yeah, I think that kind of says it all, really. I think the other thing for family members out there, I just want to kind of point this out. I know Kevin touched on it a little bit. When it comes to the kids, I think for us together, we can both agree, but let me know if I'm wrong. Saying their name does not, like, by not saying it, it's almost worse.
Yeah, it's definitely like, if you get to the point in pregnancy where you have a name picked out, you know, or you know, like us, where we had the ultrasound and determined the sex, it's definitely, it would behoove you to get used to saying their names. Like, you say their names, your family will say their names, it'll be normal, and everyone's gonna miss the kids. Like your family's going to be just as invested, oh, so-and-so's pregnant. And like, oh my God, I can't wait, baby cheeks and, all that stuff. So, say their names, it's just like I said about burying stuff. It's say the names, celebrate the birthdays, don't make it a taboo.
Yeah, Mother's Day, Father's Day, those are things that actually do end up helping us. And I mean us as a collective group of people who are grieving over child loss. Because otherwise we feel alone. We feel like no one cares. We kind of feel like they're just not there. And although Kevin has 2 wonderful rainbow babies, and I'm sure there's a lot of emotions behind that too, but it definitely, if you do have a rainbow or going through that, it doesn't take away that pain. It'll just add more room in your heart for those joyous things. But definitely in those times, say their name, celebrate the days, Mother's Day, Father's Day. If you're a family member, tell your like, not us, but like, whoever is grieving over this loss, that you're thinking of them, on Mother's Day, on Father's Day, on their days. It's definitely helpful.
Yeah, I think if you're a family member or a friend of somebody who's gone through this, it definitely helps to just say Happy Father's Day. Don't you don't have to say, oh, I'm sorry, so and so, the baby's name isn't here with us or whatever. Just say Happy Father's Day, because they're a father. It might seem a little weird, but it's no different than somebody whose kid dies in a car crash. Somebody's, 16-year-old, 18-year-old kid dies in a car crash. They're still a mother. They're still a father. Our babies made it long enough for us to know that they were a boy or girl, that we had names picked out for them. And we had all this emotion and time invested. And to have that validated just with a simple Happy Father's Day, Happy Mother's Day, you really normalize things for people like us who have gone through this. It's harder to deal with people that treat you with kid gloves and act like, you're broken and they don't want to break you anymore. It's harder to deal with that than it is to deal with people just sort of not, nonchalantly just saying Happy Father's Day, Happy Mother's Day. Oh, what are you going to do for Father's Day? Oh, I'm doing this, even though, like they're really asking, like, what are you going to do with your kids on Father's Day? And my kids are dead. So, then you're like, it's going to feel awkward, but it's way better than the alternative. It's normalcy. Normalcy really helps. Routine really helps. That's why I dug into work so much, because the routine, the monotony was kind of a numbing agent. And so Mother's and Father's Day, the birthdays of the kids, definitely try and make those normal days, happy days. Even if it's just, oh, I'm going to work today and I'm making dinner tonight. Even if it's just a normal day, you're not doing anything special. It's acknowledging it and learning to work through it. It's, you can't be paralyzed every time Mother's Day or Father's Day comes around.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, trying to figure out your routine, right? So we each have our own things that we do, but whatever works for you. And again, just help each other in that, in that sense. Talk about it, discuss it. And I know I'm kind of repeating again, but I just want to make sure you're aware really on how as a couple you can really grow, and as a father, how that grief affects you, and how you can really understand what to do, and just how as the mother of the child can help the father in any sort of way. And honestly, the father may not know what he wants, right? Like, I'm going to be honest about it. I don't know if Kevin right away knew what he wanted.
I didn't. And it definitely was one of those points in my life where I was afraid to cry. And it's definitely a crying situation. This is not one of those times where you're just like, oh, just put some duct tape on it and keep driving on. I mean, I was a soldier at the time. And I was all on that testosterone wave. Everyone in my friend circle, everyone that I used to hang out with on a regular basis was a soldier or some kind of tough guy. We all used to go have parties at this house, where a bunch of the guys lived, and it was not really acceptable to be emotional in that environment. Like, you had people that were having babies or whatnot. It's like, oh, congratulations. But then you have somebody that loses a baby, and it was hard to bring that up and to, obviously the women that I knew in the Army were really sympathetic and everything. But guys don't know how to be sympathetic, especially in their early 20s. It's hard to, and I was one of them, and it's hard to know where to put your emotions. And so, the worst thing you could do is hold it in. It's going to destroy you from the inside out, as cliche as that sounds, but you're going to find yourself in a different space in your head than you've ever been. And talk about it. Talk about it, cry about it. I think Ashley cried a lot more than I did, but, I've definitely cried about it multiple. I think I cried about the kids a couple weeks ago because I was looking at my kids and thinking about, I'd have my shirt on so I could see my tattoo with the kids' birthdays, and I was thinking about, how I wish that they were here to see their little brother. I was holding Isaac and he was reading to me and everything, and then, I'm super proud whenever he learns something new, and he's just sitting there babbling along, reading, and, I'm like, man, Lily would have been, 8 years old or whatever, seeing her little brother read, for the first time or whatever. Things like that come up in my head a lot. And you're never going to get to the point where you can be happy about it if you don't talk about it, cry about it, all that things. You're going to look horrible. You're going to be snotty, teary mess, but it's worth it.
Amen. Again, if you have any comments or questions, definitely put them below. I just hope that this has helped you. I know for me, it's helped me, and I'm not even married to this man anymore, but it's definitely something that we can all work towards and kind of get clarity on. And so,
yeah, it's, kind of my closing thing is like, if we can come back together and talk and be civil and everything, even after all the pain we went through, you can make it. You're not gonna break any records, or there's no reward for getting through this, but other than you get to be a full person again. But if we can make it through it, you can make it through it. Everybody can make it through it. There's no winning formula. There's no trick to it. There's no wiki for this. It's it's hard work, and it's taken us better part of a decade to get through it. And it's unfortunate if it's happened to you and you're watching this video. It's if it just happened, then welcome to the struggle, and you're gonna get there. But I wish I had somebody to talk to, or a video like this to watch when it happened to me. So you're already doing better than we were.
Yeah. So all right, again, questions, you have my info. Let us know if there's anything else we can talk to you about, or how we can better help you. If you want to reach out to Kevin and have questions for him in regards to the fathers and how to best help, reach out to me, and I'll connect that with that. But thank you so much for watching. Thanks, Kevin, for being on with me.
Anytime.
And we will see you guys later.
You hit it?
Yes,
okay.
hit it.